Hi everyone, my name is Charlie, and today I want to talk about the characters that I have left behind. These are characters within my own fiction that over time I have decided that I no longer wish to write about, and I'm going to give you the reasons why. I think today I'm only going to talk about the one character, so there's every chance that this could end up growing into multiple videos. I am not sure yet, but today I want to talk about the one character. Please excuse the darkness and the rain. I had planned to record this video yesterday, and the same thing was happening, and I just feel like if I don't record now, it will never get recorded. So, the character that I wish to talk about today is good old Juniper Brown. I believe that I have talked about the character before on this channel. If I have, then I'm sorry you're getting this video twice. But, you know, I do like to repeat myself. And I began the story of Juniper Brown 10 years ago in 2007. Yes, it was 2007. And I woke up one morning, on my birthday actually, so it was my 15th birthday. I woke up and I was bored, and there happened to be a Collins English dictionary by my bed, so I just started looking for words. And I found the word juniper. I thought I'd never heard that word before. That sounds like a good name. And then there was some Disney film on the telly, and there was something with Ali and AJ, and I came up with this very strange plotline revolving around Shamanka Witch, which let's just not even get into the racist undertones within that, Charlie. And I was part of the Teenage Writers Reading Challenge on a website forum that no longer exists, and I was writing this other book, which gives you another character I've left behind, and I said, can I do this story instead? So my good friend Lindsay said I could, although I don't think we were actually friends at that point. I'm not sure. We have different origin stories of how we became friends, but I think that it was a bit after that. Anyhow, so I spent the month writing this story about Juniper Brown. I finished it in the month. It was incredibly short. I think in total it came to about 20,000 words, and it was just full of a hodgepodge of different things that were inspiring me that summer. And I liked that story. I thought, this is showing Charlie as a grown-up now. And then I got to the November for National Novel Writing Month, and I decided that I wanted to write something like Harry Potter. So obviously I turned Juniper into an 11-year-old twin and sent her off to a magic school. And not gonna lie, she got as far as the carriage. I did write 50,000 words that month. Not gonna lie, I did do it. I'm just not gonna say they were all necessarily about Juniper Brown. And then, yes, it was the following year. I hadn't written properly for a length of time, and I read City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, and that showed me a different sort of story. It showed me urban fantasy, and that was when I knew that I wanted to write a Juniper Brown story in that fashion. So I moved her to Macclesfield, my hometown, and I gave her this still the longest piece of work that I've ever written, at 90,000 words, and I spent 18 months writing that from September 2008 until yeah, it will have been until 2009, 2010. So it might have been a bit before the September then, but I definitely wrote it from 2008 to 2009. And then again, National Novel Writing Month came along. I think I definitely had 2 years with Juniper for National Novel Writing Month because I'm a terrible. I was terrible with my writing, which is back then, because as again my friend Lindsay will say, when she sent me a laptop, she had the screensaver set as decide to rewrite everything tens of thousands of words later, because I was the type of person who I could very easily get to 30,000 words and decide just to completely destroy everything that I'd written and start over, which is what happened with Juniper Brown, because once again that next time wasn't good enough. We're rewriting it again, 90,000 words out the window to write for 1 year exactly, from 2010 until 2011/12. Yes, it was 2011, because I, once again, completed Juniper Brown for NaNoWriMo. Are you seeing a link here? And that was when Juniper Brown was really complete at 75,000 words. This novel that I'd been trying to write for several years at this point was complete in the way that I wanted it to be complete. And I liked the characters that I brought in, and I thought that I'd written the best piece of urban fantasy fiction ever seen on these here British shores. And so I began to send the book off in 2012 into 2013, and I wasn't getting form rejections, as mentioned in a few videos before. I was getting quite nice rejection letters back. At one point I did get a request for the full manuscript before ultimately being rejected again, which was great for me. And I still thought that there was something in that story, but in 2013 I'd made the firm decision then that I didn't want to be... I didn't want to write that book at the time. I always had the intention of going back, because I'd planned this as a trilogy, and I'd always seen myself as continuing down this vein of urban fantasy writing. And yeah, basically, when I first started this channel, I can't remember what I called the video, but I did make a video about will I write fantasy again. And at the time, after Juniper Brown's final rendition, I wrote a children's book, and then I wrote Doris, and then another Doris. So I've only written 3 books in 4 years, which to me, I'm kind of missing a book there. If I was going off when I was younger, I'm missing several, because I did used to write quite a lot, but it wasn't necessarily good. I mean, it might still be terrible. Nobody's telling me. Anyway, so in 2015, after all these rejections, I made a video about how I didn't think that I would necessarily go back to Juniper's story. And whilst I appreciate the things it taught me about writing, I think that the majority of what I did in there was my bad, angsty teenage writing, and it's not necessarily good. I thought a lot more about showing back then, and thinking that showing over telling was the be-all and end-all of writing fiction, and because of that, the prose, whilst it does have action in it, it reads a lot more like disjointed pieces that don't really ever have any cohesion. And whilst the dialogue is very filmic and cinematic and does read a lot like Buffy, it doesn't work for fiction in the same way, because all these characters constantly bouncing off each other is fine as long as they are actually getting to the heart of the plot, which they never did in any of the versions that I have written. And I feel a bit bad because I did actually gift that book to a lot of people, because you could get 5 copies 1 year off if you won NaNoWriMo, and so I gave them all out, and then I also used some others, and I had about 7 printed, and I've given every one of them away. So there are 7 versions of my extremely terrible book out there in the world, and I don't know if people have read them, I don't know what people have done with them, but please note that they are extremely bad. And when I was putting all of my stuff in a box for pre-2016, I spoke to my friend Lindsay, and I said to her, if I ever come to you and say that I'm planning on going back to Juniper Brown and writing her again, don't let me. Just tell me not to do it, because I had started thinking to go back to Juniper, and not even thinking about the fact that it would need heavily rewriting. Like, everything would need to be completely changed, the characters would need to be changed, the plot would actually have to be found. I liked the characters too much. That was the problem. All of these characters, I had invented people that I really enjoyed and liked writing about, which is fine, but it made me too afraid to harm them in any way. And also, like I say, the writing was just terrible, and the thought of working with these characters was causing me such untold stress, which made absolutely no sense, but that's exactly what these characters were doing. The mere thought of writing them would make me extremely tense and angry and a bit fearful, really. I mean, look, even the sky is crying for me right now. It's got even worse. And so Lindsay said to me, was I completely sure? Because, you know, I have had these sorts of whims before, and she told me that she will not let me write it. And so far, it has been nearly 2 years, because it was January 2016, and I have not yet had the inclination to go back to that story. I have got regrets, but I have started trying to live a life without regrets and without guilt, and those regrets were primarily that nothing came of this story after nearly, you know, like, really, it's about 5 to 6 years of work on it. But it wasn't my best writing, and it's all a learning experience. And to think that at the age of 21, I was thinking about how I wanted this book published and traditionally published, and how it was going to be a really big series and franchise. You see, that's the problem. That's the problem with dreams. They're always better than what you get in the end. Always better than the end result. And so Juniper is gone, and I will never write about that character again. I have considered putting her into a cozy crime novel just so that I could kill her off properly, but I don't think it'll happen. And the decisions were definitely based on my creativity, on how far I'd come as a writer, and the different sorts of things that I wished to be writing, which is something that I don't think that I could have done or achieved with that character or that story. Anyway, now that I have rambled on for almost 15 minutes, I think I'll go. Are there any if you are a writer, are there any characters or stories that you have ever washed your hands of? Have you ever felt regret over giving up something after a length of time working on it? Feel free to discuss these things in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video, and until next time, that is all.